Urban Meyer coming off of that 6th undefeated season in Ohio State history.
Miller going to air it out long. He's got a man out there. Got it. Devin Smith. Touchdown.
And now he'll run and dive into the end zone. Touchdown.
Makes his way inside the 10. Goes backwards. Now forwards. Reaches. Pylon. What a run by Carlos Hyde.
Great move, and now the speed in the middle of the field, looking for a stiff arm. Touchdown, Ohio State. Urban Meyer's team goes to 24 straight wins.
Our next guest won 2 national championships when he was the head coach of the Florida Gators. Now he's at Ohio State and has led the Buckeyes to a 24-2 record over the last 2 seasons. We welcome back to the desk Urban Meyer. So happy to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here.
I know. Well, former employee, now you're just hanging out, right? Just having a good time
just
on campus.
Out. It was good to see old friends.
Yeah, it's good, right? So let's talk about the season. You guys lost the championship game, and then you lost the bowl game. So we're looking ahead. How do you rebound from last season?
Well, we played hard. I went back. It took me a while to go watch them, to be honest with you. I was devastated, might be, you know, and not devastated for myself, but we had a group of seniors now that won 24 straight.
Yeah.
And you're a few plays away. Played 2 very good teams, but we're good. We're moved on, and everybody's asking, are we using that as a, you know, for a chip on his shoulder approach? And I hope we don't have to. I don't feel that. I feel we have a team that really wants to go win games, and I always have a folder of stuff that if we have to pull it out, we're probably not very good to begin with if you have to worry about motivating your team all the time. But I like where we're at, and like most coaches, really anxious to get going.
I noticed this morning you have 7 starters returning on defense, and my first thought was, is that a good thing? Because I looked at the end of the year, and you give up 41, 34, and 40 in those last 3 games. Now, you won the one at Michigan, obviously, but that's not Ohio State football.
No, Ohio State for probably the last decade has had as good a defense as anyone. Pass defense was bad, and there's no other way to. So we imploded the whole thing. You know, I evaluated it. We have a new secondary coach. He's in charge of the whole back 7 now. One voice. It's actually the NFL. When's the last time a first rounder has been taken as a tailback? Now it's corners and defensive ends. So we have to keep evolving. We've been very good against the rush. The pass defense is completely different, and so far I really like where we're headed.
How good can Braxton Miller be ultimately? What, like you've coached a lot of really good players in your time. What's his ceiling?
Well, I made a comment. First 3 years, I didn't know what the ceiling was. I see it now, and it's kind of ridiculous. You know, he's got the skill set to play football for the next 10 years. A great arm, great release. He's Big Ten Player of the Year back-to-back. However, there's 2 areas he needs to improve, and one is the overall leadership, the command that comes with that position. Every great quarterback, whether you're run fast, jump high, great arm, slow release, whatever, they're great leaders. And so he's very much improved in that area. The second area, and we actually had him do Gruden camps. We had a general manager, former GM of the NFL, come and visit with him, is the overall knowledge of the defense and keeping your eyes downfield. So he'll fit right in that group. You know, from Alex Smith to Tebow to Chris Leak, even Cam Newton, this Josh Harris, he's going to be right in that category.
Could he be better than all of them?
Could be.
Maybe.
He could be. Skill set. I mean, he's got a rocket for an arm, a great release, and I'm anxious to see where he's at. The other thing, though, we've improved the skill set around him. You know, one thing that every quarterback also shares are really good players around him, and we are better at the offensive skill positions than we were the last 2 years.
You brought up Tim Tebow, so I'm going to follow that up because you made remarks at your Big Ten media session that you just can't quite figure out why he's not in the NFL. So now that you've had a little more time to reflect, how do you explain that he doesn't have a job?
Well, it's when people say you made a remark, I get asked a question, so I answer the question.
Fair.
I don't open up and say,
you're not like, hey, Tim Tebow.
I'm smart. I've been in this business for a while.
You know, yeah.
I rarely open up with anything. I love Tim. Tim is arguably the toughest guy I've ever coached, the most competitive guy, highest character, maybe human being I've ever been around. He's a winner. He won state championships, national championships, and almost went to a Super Bowl. I watch pro football more as a fan. I think he can play. I think he can play in a non-traditional offense. The good thing is I think that's there for a while. You know, who knows if it's going to stay, but there's 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 now teams that are running offenses maybe they're non-traditional. So do I think he can play in the NFL? I'm extremely biased. I get that. Of course I do. And I'm sure that's a headline somewhere, but I love Tim Tebow, and And he's good for the sport, man. He's a competitive guy that he'll win wherever he goes.
But did he become too big for his own good?
Probably.
Probably?
Yeah, I tried to help him, and not that I can, but with him comes an entourage. With him comes distraction. I don't, once again, that's all. I don't understand all that. I just know what goes on in the locker room on the field. I'm not worried about all the
other stuff.
Okay, I do know Tim well enough to tell you, and this is in a very positive vein, and you know this. He has a big ego, because they all have to have big egos. But that ego right now, to get biblical, pride goeth before the fall. Tim is saying, I'm not going to play in Canada. I'm not going to play in the Arena League. Would you advise him to at least give it a year just to show people I can still do this?
Good question.
I've actually talked to Tim. I talk to him quite frequently. I'd like to say it's a coach-player, father-son relationship, because that's how close we are. And the one thing about Tim, he will make the right decisions. He's not a knee-jerk guy. He's going to take his time. He's got a lot going for him, obviously, with ESPN and the SEC network, but he's a competitor, and he wants to play. So I've never told him what to do. He has asked opinions, and I trust he'll always make a right decision. And I don't go too far, because I don't know. I don't like to give opinions when I don't really understand. But I love Tim, and he knows I want the best for him.
Would you advise him to try the other league?
See, to me, it's all personnel. It's if that coach, to go to a situation like he's been in before, where he gets raked over the coals, or he's just not in the right fit, I'd be very cautious at this point.
That's very fair.
Okay, one last big picture question. You're always great on big picture perspective. We've talked and talked. We had the Big 12 commissioner last week talk about cheating seems to still be paying off rampant. Give us your view of the state of your game, your sport.
It's better than it's been. And I think the NCAA, I worry about the last year and a half. I think when they came out and put the hammer down and started putting coaches accountable, holding schools accountable. See, I'm a fan of the NCAA. Everyone, they don't really understand. The people that just criticize and criticize and criticize, the NCAA is made up of us. So if you want to criticize, go criticize the presidents, athletic directors, and coaches. I think they're a very tough situation. I'd put millions of dollars into our enforcement staff. It is real. You need to punish. When I hear deregulation, I want to pull my hair out and say, don't deregulate, punish more firm. That's not, deregulation is not the answer. If there's people robbing the banks, don't say, well, that's okay. Put them in jail for a long time. And so if they catch a person cheating, willful, intentful, to me, they can't coach.
Are they handicapped without subpoena power? They
Absolutely.
Can't. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. And instead of, like I said, deregulating, hire more people. The NCAA makes a lot of money. Put it in to make sure this game continues. I think it's better than it's been.
All right, Urban Meyer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Deregulation is not the answer. Investment and enforcement.
And one man's opinion.
One man's opinion.
Punishment.
And I like it, by the way. Coming up next, folks, we're talking about Tiger Woods. You play golf?
I love golf.
Really?
I live at Deerfield.
Oh, there you go. You should then play with this kid over here.
He looks like a golfer.
He is.